45. Sorry for the delay. We'd like to consider approval of the minutes of the Administration and Legal Committee meeting held on September 10th, 2019.
So moved.
Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Can we get a second?
Second.
Favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Number 3, discuss liquor and video gambling licenses for the following. A, Tribes Ale House and Grill at 9501 171st Street. Happy Bites Burgers and Wings, 8021 183rd Street. And the Island Bistro at 7020 183rd Street.
Thanks, Trustee Brady. Dominic Sanfilippo is going to give a small presentation. He did send over a memo referencing these 3 requests. Do you want to do individually? Do you want to give an update? Okay, if you want to step forward. And petitioners all here from the 3 establishments as well? That's fine.
So very briefly, there are 2 proposals that have previously been seen by the Admin and Legal Committee. Tribes Ale House was here before, and they're back at the committee, as well as Happy Bites, which they had some expanded plans that have been through the building and have seen by the building department inspections. And then there's a 3rd newer proposal from Island Bistro, and their owner is here as well. So if there are any questions on individually, but I believe all 3 owners are here to speak to their proposals if you want to go down one by one.
Can you give us a little background on why Tribes was here previously? And then did they withdraw
So
their
Tribes,
previous petition?
the Tribes proposal was here on the August 8th Admin and Legal Committee, and then was tabled for further review. After initial discussion,
Okay.
I think there was some discussion about there had been there for they're gone through the state, and then they had to go locally through the local ordinances. That was the initial discussion there. August 8th, the owner could not be present. It was tabled for September 8th. September 8th, there was discussion over the location of the machines, the size of the room, et cetera. So it was reintroduced at this meeting for further discussion for Tribes.
The other 2 points I'll make for Happy Bites and Island Bistro. Happy Bites had underwent an expansion. They took over the facility directly next to their unit. And then Island Bistro is a replacement of a restaurant business that was an operator here in Tinley Park of Rich's Pizza. So this is a new concept. So they're obviously requesting their liquor and
Correct.
gaming license.
Yes, Tribes is requesting an AV license, which would be liquor and video gaming. Happy Bites is requesting an EV license, which is pouring beer and wine and video gaming. And Island Bistro is requesting the previous occupant, Rich's Pizza, also had an AV license. Island Bistro, the potential new occupant, is requesting an AV license as well.
So I guess we'll turn it over to the committee. If you guys have any questions regarding the table of Tribes Ale House, you want to have a debate and discussion on that. I'm sure the petitioner's here to answer questions. Is there a debate on that?
Do you have any questions, Bill?
No, I don't.
Glantz, you have, Trustee Glantz? No?
Is there anything from the petitioner that you'd like to add to the record from Tribes? No? Nope, okay. Same goes for Happy Bites. Is there anything else that I'd like to add to the record before we call for a vote on this? Please.
Thank you, Mayor, and all the trustees for hearing me out here. I've been in this business for the last 2 years for Happy Bites, and I decided to add that another kind of cuisine next to it for California sub, and like a little food court kind of a feel to it. And obviously, I want my customers to have the ability to have a wine or a beer with it also. Luckily for me, a couple of days ago, we were featured in WGN's Chicago's best hamburger place. So, we were very fortunate that, and so hopefully if the committee can, agree to it, we'll be very thankful to you guys.
I appreciate it.
Thank
Well, Thank you.
Well, I'm assuming that the plans have been, because he brought up all new plans the last time that he was here and a change and all that. I'm assuming that all that has been met and cleared by planning, et cetera?
Yes, so those new floor plans are in the packet you received. The 2 new scans of that, I believe it's a larger schematic, and then the picture of it, those are the new updated plans, and the building department has seen those plans and reviewed. I thought we were going one by one, so I can speak to all three if you want.
It's okay. Anything else, trustee?
Yeah, I
Brady?
mean, trustee
That's
Brady,
fine.
You want to do all three at once, or you want to do?
Yeah, let's do all three, certainly.
Island Bistro is here as well, I believe, if they wanted to speak to
So
that.
new business.
One thing I wanted to add with that, Dominic and the petitioner, I apologize, Dominic and I were supposed to, I was supposed to get your number. I never contacted Dominic again to get the number. I would like to just come see it
Sure.
and see the setup and the layout. So that's on me, I apologize. Unless the two of them are okay with it, then it doesn't matter, but, I would just like to take a look at the layout first.
I think layout is with Dominic, correct?
Yeah, so I'll get the picture, yeah, it's in the.
Yeah, I want to physically see it.
And we actually have here Dale, who represents the gaming side of my application. He just has made this booklet, if I can hand it to you.
Sure.
More or less, kind of gives you the idea, visual ideas of it.
Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna drop all of them.
Should do the same thing in your packet. Same thing in the packet. It's the same thing that's in the packet. Should be.
Packet's hard to see.
Thank you.
Would you mind coming over here?
Yes.
So are these walls all the way up to the ceiling?
Yes,
They are.
yes.
And these are all windows?
There's all windows, correct.
You have to have the windows? Can
I
some,
don't-
can your, oh, can they see that from the, wherever your counter or whoever's gonna?
Yeah, we're gonna have a cashier right over here.
Okay, so
So we're
you-
gonna have two cashiers, one over here and one over here.
So you don't, so you
Over
then
here.
really don't need the windows if you have
Correct.
direct eyesight?
Correct, I do have monitoring of who goes into the room.
Would you be okay with removing them?
Yes, I would be okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
No.
Are there any questions for the petitioner?
No, no question. but,
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Island Bistro.
Good evening, Mayor,
Hi.
members of the board. Thank you for allowing us to speak with you this evening. The Island Bistro is a concept that my wife, this is my wife Tiffany Perkins. This is her partner, Derek Zabrigan. My wife and I purchased the building at 7050 West 183rd Street about 5 years ago. And we purchased that building because we thought it was a fabulous product that was built by Robert Hanson several years ago. And since we've purchased the building, our tax bill has went from, 70,000 to 260,000. And it's made it very difficult for the occupants that are there to pay the taxes. We've certainly filed our appeals, like, every other business or landowner in the community. But what we found is that, it's been very difficult, for other people to rent that space out. And so my wife came up with a concept that she thought would work after we took a very huge loss from Rich's Pizza while they were there. So she came up with this concept, and we thought it would be a way for us to, I guess, supplement our taxes with the revenue from a business. And so, that's really one of the reasons why we brought this concept in. And so my wife, who has worked in our real estate company for a number of years, and Mr. Zabrigan, who's come in from Florida, have come up with this concept, which we think will be a great concept to bring to the community, a different flavor of food and fun for the residents of Tinley Park. I'll let Derek.
Sure. Thank you for the time, board, ladies and gentlemen. Basically, Island Bistro is capturing all of your favorite flavors from each island. So instead of just having one Jamaican jerk or one red snapper, we want to combine it all and fuse it all. So we'll bring your Bohemian conch, right? Still have your Jamaican jerk, maybe some plantains from Puerto Rico. But all those different flavors that you want to go and visit, now all you have to do is come to Tinley Park and taste it.
That's it. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you.
If you have any questions. No
Appreciate it.
questions.
Are there any questions from the committee?
No?
All right,
I-
thank
Oh,
you.
I'm
Trustee
sorry,
Glatz?
I got a question.
One here.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Bill.
What are your projection splits as far as your, in your business plan, what your alcohol sales as opposed to what your food sales are gonna be?
Our concentration is mainly for the food, although the prior owner had a bar in the space already that's built in, and so we anticipate, to be able to utilize that space to put a bar in. But I think our food sales will probably be 60-70% of the business versus the liquor sales, I mean, I assume someone comes in and get a burger, they may want a beer.
Right.
But we're mainly concentrating on the food, in the restaurant.
Okay.
Do you have space there for entertainment? I mean, just think of all the different islands.
Yeah,
Some
well,
great music.
well, we do have a new drawing which we've submitted to the village, and there is a small little area which, we would like to do some music, but I do understand that there's been an issue in the past with the residents in terms of the noise levels. So obviously, we want to make sure that we identify that that won't be a problem with the residents before we would bring something like that in.
One of the things that we were trying to bridge into was something similar to like a Hampton Social, where you could have maybe some light music or whatnot come in on a live venue and play maybe some steel drums or something like that on a low scale volume.
Yeah, nothing, that's gonna be, too loud and disturbing the neighbors, but something that if you're there with your wife or your family, you
Delay
can
it, but they-
listen to a little calypso music or something like that, and, have a good time.
Well, this is your entertainment destination.
Thank you.
So you said, so you were losing money with Riches? Why,
Yes.
because of the taxes?
Well, I mean, I don't know what their personal issues were, but when the tax increase happened, that seemed to be an issue where most of the tenants started having a problem with being able to pay the taxes as they increased. We lost Rich's Pizza, we lost Tinley Park Liquors, we lost the dance studio Heart and Soul, all after the tax increase happened. This last one, where our taxes went from, our last tax bill in 2017 was $190, now we're at $260. So after that last increase, I don't think that they could sustain it.
Can you explain that a little bit? Because I think it might be getting a little confused, and so
Okay.
their rents increased then, right? Because the tax bills
Well,
increased, so
no, the base
as the
rent stayed,
landlords.
the base rent stayed the same, but they're on a net lease, so the taxes increase because that's a pass-through from the owner to the actual tenant. So when the taxes increase, obviously their prorated share of that tax bill increased, which would bring their overall rent payment as an increase as well, because it's the rent, the base rent plus your taxes plus your CAM. So that was an issue for them. And so Rich has actually moved across the street. I believe that's Will County. The liquor store actually moved across the street as well. So it's a little difficult when, the tax base, less than a half block away is a lot less than what it is on our side. So we came up with this concept hoping that we would be able to not have a place sit empty. We got 3 empty stores. So my wife came up with this concept and said, hey, let's come in and use our own money, put the restaurant in, and maybe we could, support our income for the taxes through the revenue from the restaurant. So that was the original concept.
Trying
So,
to bring a positive to it.
yes.
And, are you gonna submit a business plan?
I think we've done all that, if I'm not mistaken. It's been submitted. We've submitted for permits and,
I think he's referencing more of like a pro forma.
Oh, no, we did not.
okay, I'm sorry, that's not my part. I got a little ahead of myself. I'll let her speak about that.
Good evening. No, I believe that we just applied for the license, and I know all of the inspectors have came in and gave their comments regarding the space, and that's as far as we've gotten so far.
All right, thank you. So should we have the business plan before we?
Well, I mean, I think you have the committee has an opportunity to move it to a board, but then contingent upon receiving a business plan or a pro forma, which I would recommend doing. I mean, that was a great question that trustee Brennan brought up, and the getting the splits on what you're looking to do in your restaurant compared to your liquors and video gaming sales. I think that's an important decision the board needs, so, but that's obviously you guys' direction, so.
Would you have the gaming in the same place Rich had it?
No, I don't know if you ever been to Rich's Pizza?
All the time.
Okay, so in the back where I believe they had like the,
Cubby hole?
yeah, that little cubby hole, that's where I plan on moving the gaming to.
And then will it be completely enclosed?
If that's the requirements, yes.
I mean, like not a 6-foot wall or 7-foot wall, all over, at least an 8-foot wall.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, the current wall I think now is either 6 or 8 feet from where the.
But now you're gonna have to build a wall for the games to be behind it.
Okay.
Right, well, that's what I was thinking too, yeah.
Just moving it to the back of versus right in the middle.
No, I get that, but if it's in the back, you're gonna have to have a wall because they're not gonna be in the open, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, well, it's inside, you know, so you can build a wall out on the outside too.
On the outer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the plans will show that.
Okay, all right.
Anything else from the committee?
No.
So I would work on having a, depending upon what the committee recommends this evening, assuring that you have a business pro forma sent over to Dominic so he could disseminate that to the board.
Absolutely.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Trustee Brady, keep going.
Okay, item number 4, discuss liquor code concerning Sunday sales.
Actually, Jim is going to vote on that, right?
What's up?
You have to-
You got to move that. Is that going to get moved?
That was Island, did the other, have we moved that,
Want to move to the board?
we should probably go back and do tribes. Did we do tribes yet?
Yes.
Yeah, tribes.
And it
They
was
did them
moved?
all.
Was it-
No, no,
Yeah,
they
let's
were going to
move-
do it A, B, and C. They were
Let's
going
go
to do
back,
discussion.
you know, let's move tribes and Happy Bites and Island Bistro in order, one by
So
one.
ask for
Wanna do them
motion, ask for
individually?
motion in A, B,
Make
and
motion
C.
to move it to the board?
Correct. That's for Tribes Ale House, is the motion.
Want to move it to the board?
No, it's not gonna include,
Oh, motion by trustee Brady.
Brady,
Is there a second?
second by Brennan.
All,
All those
Call
in
it.
favor?
call,
All those in favor?
it's gonna fail. All those opposed?
aye.
Aye.
Motion fails. You should move to item B now, Happy Bites
Item
Burgers.
B, Happy Bites, Burgers and Wings.
Is there a motion, to move that to the board?
I can make a motion, move that to the board?
Well, are we gonna,
Yeah, I would-
visit that one?
Yeah, I would like to, you wanna go, I would like to go see the layout
Go visit that
first.
one?
This is,
Yeah.
All
You
right.
wanna move that to, when's the next, we have a
next
cow or a
admin?
committee? To the next admin?
We can put it on a cow or the next admin.
So you have a chance to visit it?
Yeah. Whatever works best, Dave.
Next Tuesday, or is that too soon?
I won't be around this week unless Bill can go look.
I know I can.
I could possibly go look Saturday.
So you want to make a motion to postpone it to the next cow?
Yeah,
this
we
coming
can do it to the
Tuesday?
cow this week and get going.
Or keep it
Yeah.
on the same village board schedule?
I'll make a motion to move it to the next cow.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And the Island Bistro.
I mean, this one is
Brandon?
really, yeah, I mean, this one's, we got a lot of sorting out to do on this one, so.
It sounded like there was thought to move it to the board pending submission of a business plan? That's
Okay.
what I
Yes.
mean, if you want to
Okay.
condition it upon that.
And condition upon, there's an 8-foot wall with no windows.
Right.
Okay.
As shown.
Yep, as shown as plans.
So you have the
So make a motion.
motion by trustee Brady, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Now, item 4, discuss liquor code, Sunday sales.
Sure. So a little background on this item. Last month, Mr. Nikolakis petitioned the mayor as liquor commissioner asking about the Sunday hours for both golf courses and banquet facilities in the village of Tinley Park. My memo primarily addresses golf courses. his letter specifically petitioned that he wished to extend or offer Bloody Mary bars as to their Sunday brunch they have, as well as sell liquor earlier at their golf course, petitioning for both. As for golf courses themselves, similar to many surrounding communities, we don't have a golf course ordinance in our liquor license. It's codified under for the one golf course we have operating in Tinley, it's codified under a Class A license for the LLC that is connected to the golf course. In looking at some similar surrounding communities, there's a couple different variations of what other folks do with treating golf courses. In Orland Park, they have Silver Lakes Country Club. They have a specific clause in their, I believe it's 11221A, that allows for golf courses to sell earlier at 10 a.m. In Lamont, it's under their A license, which is one of their general categories. They have a little bit different setup than we do. They have a commission for liquor that issues can issue an early classification hour. Village of Frankfurt, 6 a.m., et cetera. So there's some difference there. So wrote this memo and passing it to the committee for initial discussion. I know the petitioner is here for both these requests. The banquet item, it looks like in our ordinance, already is available for his Class K2 to sell at 10 a.m. But for the golf course question specifically, we recommend the committee just review, ask questions, and start an initial discussion about the request in general, if there were a potential ordinance shift to allow golf courses specifically to sell earlier on Sundays.
Can you get a clarification on the K2?
Yes, I'm sorry. So K2 license is for banquet, and that's his banquet facility.
And that's the sale of any type of alcoholic beverage?
It's for serving liquor and sale at a banquet hall.
Serving,
Yes.
not sell.
Yes, I'm sorry. So banquets is serving at a hall for functions. A is for selling. Mr. Holly.
Mr. Hilikius, would you like to come forward and present your issues to the committee?
Basically, we're looking at adding a new kind of for our business there. We have a golf course there, been there for about 25 years, and for 25 years, we haven't been able to sell any beer or spirits on the golf course in the morning on Sundays. A lot of our golfers and people that come out do want to partake in some of that, with beer and Bloody Marys, things like that in the mornings. Mostly I have, biggest pushback I get is anybody that plays golf in the morning around 7 o'clock and finishes around at 11, they can't get a beer in my place. I hear it all the time. They say they can't get something to drink, and I'm like, it's not till noon. It's what our license is, it's what we do. As far as the banquet hall is concerned, we don't sell liquor. If it's part of our banquet package, basically, if I sell a wedding or something like that, then we do serve it, but that's serving it, we don't sell it to individuals currently, so.
What about brunches?
Brunches, we do not sell any liquor there. We have our champagne brunch that is included with our package. The champagne's included, that's the only thing that we do offer in the mornings.
So the request today is strictly for the golf course. And just for clarification, Sundays, it's 12 to 2. Right?
Correct. Prohibited
That's
prohibited
the
currently in the
serving
ordinance from 12 to 2.
12 to 2.
It's the golf and banquet facilities.
Yeah, so I have 2 different liquor licenses in my facility.
For the banquet.
Yeah, it's I was gonna say it's kind of nuanced. So for the banquet, I addressed in my memo. As far as the understanding, the best of my knowledge, for our actual current ordinance for K2, they actually are allowed to serve alcohol after 10 a.m. in a K2 that's currently in our ordinance as it stands. So the memo specifically, that was part of his letter that he addressed. The unresolved portion that would be up for committee discussion is the golf course question itself.
Question, what prompted you now, after 25 years, to make this change or want to change?
After 25 years, it's not the first time we've actually discussed this internally as far as an organization. It's and then it's kind of foolish for me to bring it up now at the end of the season because we're going to be closing up pretty soon. But I figured we're going to get a little head start for next year.
Plan ahead.
Yeah, seriously, But we just want to keep our competitive edge. I mean, a lot of the golfers that do come out will that's the first thing they question us, you know, is why can't they get anything to drink in the morning?
Do you think that affects your clientele, that, oh, I
Yeah,
can't
well,
get a drink,
they-
so I'll go somewhere else?
They do. They do that, and then there's times that I see them doing things that they shouldn't be doing. So, you know, I have to go out there and police that as well, because they know they can't do that in my facility, so I have to go out there and make sure we stop them on that.
Okay.
So I think the conversation is to discuss and debate whether, if this is something that you would consider, and if so, is there a particular time that you're willing to extend to, or open up to?
So you said, Mr. Likias, you've been doing this for 25 years and you guys are doing okay as it sits down?
I think times have changed a little bit as far as as golf is concerned now. It's more of a competitive field now. There's a lot of golf courses. A lot of times, you have to be able to compete with your other courses out there right now. So anything that we can get will help us compete against these courses. I mean, I don't know if a lot of you know that we do, most of our business now for the golf course itself is not-for-profit. We're working with, for veterans and things like that right now, people with special needs. So with that, we take a big toll on ourselves as far as what we produce out there. So we do a lot of golf outings for veterans. We do a lot of clinics for special needs people and all that kind of thing. So we're trying to make sure we can gather as many people into the facility as we can to offset those costs on the other side.
And you're saying when they do a round of golf at around 11 a.m., that's when they're looking to have a drink?
They're thirsty.
They're thirsty. There's people that come out, I mean, even if I'm able to get some, you know, even at 10 o'clock in the morning, it make a big difference. If somebody finishes 9 holes, they can grab a beer and go back out on the golf course, you know?
Yeah.
Or if I have my halfway house open,
On their cart?
or the beer cart.
What's, it looks like, is Silver Lakes, is it 11 a.m. or is it 10 a.m.?
Silver Lakes, if you go to their ordinance in the memo, their carve-out for golf courses within their ordinance is 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. in the morning. To the best of my understanding from Lamont's, I spoke with Lamont's, they would issue a classification if the petitioner asked, and they've done so in the past, for Ruffled Feathers Golf Course. Frankfurt is more of an open, they don't have a specific Sunday clause. So there's some variation there, but there are some surrounding municipalities with varying hours, but some that do go before noon.
It says in the memo here for Silver Lakes, it says the hours of 7 a.m. on weekdays? And then 11 o'clock a.m. on Sundays? Is that,
And then if you go to the top of the next page, the opening hour on Sundays for golf courses should be 10 o'clock.
okay.
I believe 11 o'clock is their standard time in Orland Park for liquor sales.
Well, and do you know about Cog Hill at all?
Cog Hill, I believe is Palos Park now?
Cog Hill was actually annexed out of Lamont.
Okay.
And they are now under the operation of, I believe it's.
Palos Park, yeah.
Palos Park, yeah.
Do we know the hours as far as?
Down and I'm sure on.
Okay. I mean,
How about you, Don?
I think 10 a.m. is reasonable. So that's my thoughts on it.
Well, are we looking to move this up? Like, or now, I think you just mentioned you're at the end of your season. I mean, is this something you're looking to, I mean, I hope we have a few more weeks, but is this looking to go up? Are they looking for action tonight?
No, I mean, it was,
Chew on?
the spirit of it was to have a discussion and decide on whether or not this was something the board would find to be tolerable. If there's action tonight, I mean, certainly the legislation can pass. I mean, it was brought to our attention. I told Mr. Helikius that we'd bring it forward at a point uncertain, and here we are. So the conversation should be had. I mean, if you want more data, we can certainly crunch some more data, get some more communities and what their ordinances state. But I think just the opportunity is pretty much all we were looking for.
What's your thought on this, Jake?
Yeah, I would probably weigh with what Trustee Brennan said. I think 10 o'clock is a reasonable time. I mean, I understand the point that you're bringing up and trying to have a competitive edge on other courses in the area, and, you know, if it's an opportunity to secure revenue for the establishment and continue your future, I think that's our obligation as elected officials. So I would be open to any time that the committee suggests, but I would agree with what Trustee Brennan said, and I think 10 o'clock is reasonable.
Thank you. I would concur.
So why don't we do this, instead of passing something haphazardly, why don't you, because there was a question about Cog Hill, Dominic, if you could find some research on Palos Park, on what their ordinance states on that. If we could circle back to the committee on that, and then draft, Counselor, if you could draft a liquor amendment for that clause, so that they could see what the wording would be.
Will do.
Is that fair?
Sounds good to me.
Thanks, Nick.
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Trustee Brady?
Okay. Item number 5, discuss state law, video gambling.
So this is,
You have staff on that? or-
yeah, me again. So this item is in response to, as many of you know, Senate Bill 690 passed earlier this summer on June 28th, prompted an array of changes. One such change was an increase in the upper limit of video game terminals in any one establishment from 5 to 6. That went into law statewide through the signing of that bill and through the operating of the Illinois Gaming Board. Since that change, we've had numerous establishments and their partners contact the mayor's office inquiring what Tinley Park's reaction to this law is, whether they are allowed to or not. Our current ordinance, video gaming, is codified under 2 separate places in our ordinance, under our liquor code, which is 112 in the Village of Tinley Park ordinances, and 13223, which has a specific clause for video gaming. It states that there are no more than 5 video gaming terminals may be located, maintained, or operated in any one establishment. So currently, as it stands, in the Village of Tinley Park, no establishment can put in a 6th machine currently. That would be a violation of our code, even though state law currently says 6. It's the understanding of the mayor's office that other surrounding communities are similarly considering such a change. One of our neighbors, I spoke with one of our neighbors, Oak Forest, who theirs is also, they have language in their ordinance that they automatically follow the state. So theirs automatically changes to 6. The change would effectively allow, if this were to pass the full board and allow for a full change, it would be that 6th machine there. So this memo is to initiate discussion amongst admin and legal, which we thought was the proper place to start, of whether this potential ordinance change should occur. I did some internal financial analysis with our treasurer. Currently, out of our 34 licensed establishments in the Village of Tinley Park, 27 of them operate at the current 5 machines, which is the maximum allowed. If those establishments were to add a 6th machine, the ones that are already 5, based on both the licensing cost and the average revenue that's been reported to the Illinois Gaming Board, the projected and combined additional village revenue, if all of 27 of those were to add a 6th machine, ranges from $116,000 to $120,000 annually, depending on if you differentiate the mean from the monthly averages. So that's, I guess, the high part. I guess that's the high part of the spectrum of if all of them were to add a 6th machine, that much revenue would come in from those. I submit this memo just to initiate discussion and to present to the board that we've had these inquiries about what Tinley Park is going to react to this. And I wanted to leave it there.
Thanks, Tom,
Yep,
for your
thanks, Tom.
analysis.
I have a question on the idea that a lot of the places that have come up before us have built their gaming room for 5 terminals, okay? Would they have to then turn around and knock out a wall or build another wall or whatever because of the 6th one is now being put in?
I think it's idiosyncratic to each establishment. Like some may well have the space, some may not. If there were to be a change to any of the infrastructure, they would have to, definitely, that would have to be checked in with, I think, building inspection as well.
Dominic, can you give an explanation of what that word was you just used? For most of us here, that went directly over my non-Oxford education.
Each business has a separate, is different. It's been a long day, Mr. Mayor.
Well, you
But yeah,
pulled that word out of Webster for sure.
I think, trustee Brady, I think the idea would be, however, whether we're gonna keep it at 5, move to 6, you know, obviously, all those machines would still have to be encompassed in, you know, the type of spaces that we have now. So if they didn't have room and if you went to 6, you know, they'd have to make room somehow.
Right.
So I don't think, they wouldn't be able to have 5 and then one over here. I don't think
Yeah,
that's what we
it'd still be confined in the area.
They'd have to follow all the rules and regulations of,
Yeah.
Defined code.
yeah.
I just think that given what we discussed tonight at the cow, I think this is something that, I don't know, I personally don't have an appetite for right now. I just want to see kind of how that all shakes out. I was at an establishment this weekend that had the machines and not going to say which one it was, but it was kind of cramped. So, I'm a no on that right now, so.
I don't have a problem with the 6 games, but for something like this, I think we should let the board make that decision. I don't think that's right for 3 people to make the decision for the whole board. And actually, by doing it here, even if it was a split, the mayor can't vote. Unless you're against it too, Bill.
No, I'm not against it.
Okay, I would just, my suggestion would be just pass it through, and then, you know, let it go to the board, and then there's seven members of the board that get to vote on it.
Fine.
It's fine with me, too.
There's a little bit more to our code cleanup in total that we have to do, which I think
Right.
is, for you guys. The 6 machine may be one thing, but there are other businesses, as we've talked about in recent weeks up here, that the state law allows for more machines, possibly up to 10 machines. Again, our safeguard in the code has been that we say, you know, whether purposefully or not, that any establishment can't have more than 5 machines. Again, we go to, you know, if the state law says a truck stop can have 10, they may tactically be able to get a license, but the state won't turn them on, and they will cite that establishment for having more machines than allowed. So, you know, I think if you're going to 6 or 5, you know, we also need to, you know, there would also be code language there that it's 6 or 5, you know, across the board, or you guys need to talk about that, if you want to differentiate, you
Right.
know, between, you know, a pour establishment, a truck stop, a fraternal organization, you know, that wasn't done when video gaming first came out, so, but you have the right, you know, the law reads, you know, up to 6, up to 5, or up to 10. So you kind of have, you know, you have the authority to set if you want, you know, 5 every establishment, things like that. So you be thinking of that as well.
Right.
Well, that's,
Thanks, Pat.
thank you. So where are we at with that now? Pat, you want to move it to a,
It doesn't require anything, it's just for discussion.
alrighty?
I mean, you could table it and continue to talk about it. You can move it and direct it to a committee of the whole. You could talk about it internally until you find out what it is you'd like to discuss and move forward. It's completely up to you.
What do you think, Pat? You think since there's more things, would you feel more comfortable moving to the cow so you can?
I think cows the next step. This is a big one. You
Okay.
know, this is going to affect a lot of business in town. I'm sure everybody wants the 6 machine. Obviously, you know, that, as we've all said, there is a saturation point somewhere. Hasn't happened yet. But I think you guys need to chew on it a little bit more. So
Absolutely.
You know, I think next cow, or I mean, I don't know what we can have ready for
Cows
Tuesday
next
night.
week, so maybe move it to the next cow. I just think the whole board, this needs to be in front of the whole board. I don't think it's fair for 3 people to make that decision.
The intent wasn't just for 3 people, just for clarification.
No, it's not the intent, don't
Yeah,
twist it.
I'm
The
not-
point is,
I'm-
I don't think something like this, big decision, I just think this is something we should just get in front of everybody.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
That's fine.
So we've got direction there.
Yep.
I'll take it to the next cow.
Very good.
You gonna close out the meeting?
Yes, sir. Public comment? Let the record show there's no public comment. Make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Very good. Bill?
I'd like to open the Public Works meeting special Public Works meeting at 8:25. I'd like to make a motion to consider approval of the minutes of the Public Works Committee held on September 10th, 2019.
So
Second.
moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 3, discuss 2019, 2020 salt purchase contract. Can you hear me okay? Go ahead.
Good?
Yep.
All right, thank you, sir. As we do annually, we put bulk purchase salt for our road salt out to bid. And we received the following companies. There was eight that we requested bids from. Only 3 of them responded. And we are requesting that the purchase of 5,000 tons of salt, it's actually 5,500 tons of salt for the winter season be purchased at the cost of $87.36 per ton from Morton Salt for the FY '20 budget. This cost would ultimately come to $480,480, which is $29,520 under the budget. Question to move it to the board for approval.
Have any questions, guys?
Nope.
Nope.
Keep the seats clean.
Nope. Make a motion to move the salt purchase contract to the board.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 3, discuss surplus equipment. I like this topic.
This is a continuation from the previous list and discussions that subsequently had these 4 pieces of equipment left off the list from, I think it was last month's Public Works Committee. And after our following discussion at board level, we're asking for these 4 pieces of equipment to be put on the surplus list.
Which ones? For some reason, I don't have it in there.
All right, we have
Or
a
I can't find it.
2001 Dodge pickup truck, a 2010 Jeep Cherokee, 2007 F-350, and a 2007 E-350.
I'm sorry, that was to do what with them, John?
I'm sorry, repeat yourself.
And that was to do what with them again? I'm sorry.
Put them on the surplus list for reassignment or removal.
Any questions? Like to make a motion? Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 5, discuss contract award for 80th Avenue train station repairs.
Okay, shortly after our original opening of the station in 2012, we were notified of railings in the area that were lifting from the concrete and damaging the surrounding staircases, concrete, and the curbing. As the time progressed and seasons changed, we had additional heaving of railings, separation of stair nosing, freeze-thaw destruction of the concrete. The village board approved Public Works to start replacing and repairing the staircases and railings last year in a Phase 1 segment, which was approximately $271,000 for replacement of 4 staircases and railings. And we have had ongoing continued discussions with our legal team, the architect, and the bond agency for reimbursement and programming for some type of cost sharing for these repairs as necessary. It's been a long, drawn-out repair and, again, discussion with our legal team, and it was recently recommended to us from our attorney that we start continuing repairs. I have put in the memo here the cost of the overall repairs for all of the property out there, kind of put together as an individual cost per location. Ultimately, a full replacement is going to hit us for $1 million and some change. And I'm leaving it up to discussion at the committee here to determine if we want to continue as a phased approach or just attack it all in one large bite of the apple here and go after, the other parties for partial or full reimbursement. As you can see, again, per the memo, we have some of these locations are pretty heavy for costs, but again, it's a overall widespread issue we're dealing with all of the safety and railings of the site. I did have some attached photos in this packet that showed the extent of the damage, but again, it's pretty bad out there, to be quite honest.
At first brush, I would say, you know, we should do them all. It's just, because you don't want to do it, you know, haphazardly. It's just, it's a lot of money to spend. What do you and Kevin think?
Our main concern is, obviously, you know, we've been going after this each year, and costs of repairs have increased. When I first went for a overall approach quote, it was in the range of 700,000 and some change. As the years have gone on and damages have gotten worse and worse, and again, like I said, we've done 4 staircases at the tune of 200 and I believe it was 71,000, and that essentially did not deplete from the original 700 and you know, quote we had. And again, as time is going on, we're going through more seasons, more damages is being done, and as you're aware, with any construction, cost of material and labor goes up, and we can continue to need these repairs to be done. Obviously, we don't have a lot of time left in this construction season. I can possibly, you know, attack one or, you know, prioritize these and attack these one by one before, you know, we get into the snow season. And obviously, I don't want to be pouring concrete, you know, when there's below freezing temperatures out there.
You sure?
So we've got some other, you know, options we've been looking at for, instead of full replacement of like the main staircase feeding the facility. We're looking at some other options of possibly, you know, repairing the railings and doing epoxy top coat. You know, we're looking at some of those, but majority of these staircases are beyond patching and repairing, and, you know, the ramps, you can't really patch and repair those. Those got to be a full tear out and replacement. So again, based on, you know, I don't know if Pat can offer some recommendation from the, you know, PJM here, but.
I won't get into a whole lot in open session, but, you know, obviously, the village, you know, will have the right to seek a lot of these costs back, you know. Is anybody owning up to them? No, they're not. I think it's a little disappointing, that this hasn't gotten resolved. There's a lot of finger pointing going on, but, obviously, it's a jewel of the village. It's it's an important asset, and, it needs to be taken care of. You know, one of the problems has been, well, you know, things are failing, who owes what, things like that, and we haven't had costs. So you know, it's obviously your decision, but again, you have to think of the asset and how important it is, and, you know. Safety, yeah, obviously, you know. Right.
I think, you know,
Yeah,
safety is my biggest concern, I think, with,
Clearly.
and then, and the rising cost, I don't see, you know, this is something that hopefully we get a good resolution, but,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, and I
who
think
knows?
we could probably, I don't know, maybe have Tom out here,
Yeah,
because I don't think we've had.
Yeah, it's been a while.
conversations with this board, and I-
we'll have that soon, yeah.
Because there has been some discussions I've been involved with. So maybe Pat can check with Tom for his availability.
And I'd also note, you know, the board is based on some of the, you know, you guys have made some changes in the way you handle these big contracts with construction management, and, you know, the work that John and Kev we've done with putting those contracts together. They've been tedious up front, but it seems to be working, so.
I have a question, John. Was it ever established on why all of this? Was it poorly done when it was first laid or poured?
That's referencing some of the finger pointing
Yeah.
that Pat has made mention to. We've had a lot of forensic engineers out there dissecting, and again, there's just, you know, a lot of finger pointing from different forensic engineer firms.
It often happens when you have, you know, architects and builders and things
Right,
like that.
right,
and
right.
things start failing. Again, I'd like them to say they have their name on that beautiful property in Tinley Park, and, you know, try to get everybody to kind of take a share, and it hasn't worked thus far, so we'll have to move on to other strategies.
Yeah, I'd say it stinks to spend this money, but safety is number one, and we can
It's only gonna get worse.
and it's gonna, every year we wait, it's just gonna keep going up, and we could worry about chasing the money after it, because we gotta get it done.
Yeah, I think the longer you wait to,
Yep.
then you get into, now it's a maintenance
Yeah, yeah, right.
prolonged so long,
And-
that now it's
Right.
coming to replacement time.
Yeah.
And also note, some of the decisions made are upgrades, so, you know, it's not gonna be dollar for dollar, you know, recoverable, but there are some upgrades being made and things like that.
Alrighty, if there's nothing else, I'll make a motion to send this to the board.
All right, second.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 6, receive comments from the public. Let the record reflect there are none. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the Public Works Committee.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks.
Okay, very good. Ready to roll? I'd like to open the special meeting of the Public Safety Committee. Let the record reflect that it is 8:36 PM. I'd like to ask for a motion to consider approval of the minutes of the Public Safety Committee meeting held on September 10th, 2019.
So moved.
Have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, item number 3, discuss license plate recognition cameras at intersections. Pat, are you taking that one, or? Okay.
I got it, thank you, sir. You know, in response to our last catch-up meeting we had on this project, we are ready to propose to the committee here. Based on the RFP that was released to the public, we had 3 proposals that were submitted, which were Minuteman Security Technologies, Bright Computers, and Celex Incorporated. After we began to schedule the interviews, Celex was unable to meet, so we removed them from the list. So myself, Mike Thomas, and Stan Tenza were present for the interviews. The original scope of the RFP, including monitoring or upgrading the system at 183rd and Harlem, 191st and Harlem, and then we added 2 additional locations to 167th Street Trailview Court, which those of you that are not familiar is right at the railroad tracks at our far east border of Tinley Park on 167th, and then adding 4 cameras at the intersection of 183rd and Ridgeland. These locations were recommended by the police department. And after reviewing all the submissions and cost and going over all of the appropriate needs from the police department, we found that the solution that best met all of the needs of the village in its entirety would be from Minuteman Security Technologies at an initial installation cost of $242, $559, and 25 cents for all the intersections as described. And during this process, Assistant Village Manager Carr recommended a grant application with the Department of Homeland Security. We were actually awarded the cost of $223,000 with a price match of $20,000 from the village. So pretty much covering the entirety of the project, other than the $20,000 for our cost share, which still allows us for approximately $433,000 in the budget to continue moving forward with a 5-year program that we will be working with the police once these installations are completed this year. I do have a representative, Mr. Sean O'Connell from Minuteman, for any questions if you have any for him, and we're asking for the committee to approve and move this to the board for approval.
John, I have a question. Is this a new system? Is this to upgrade the system? Because a year and a half ago, my mind is not that sharp, or 2 years ago, we talked about these in these intersections and putting these lights up, or cameras up, and so on and so forth, and all the difficulty we had at that time with lights and new power and everything else.
So, yes, sir, this is actually a upgrade to the system from a couple years ago. If you recall, the situation at hand then was, it was a quick response to some concerns by the public to get some LPRs put out at the intersection. We were essentially spearheading a type of installation for these intersections that were not typically done at the time. And, essentially the product that was presented fell slightly short of what we were anticipating for the ability to get a full, high-level read on the license plates for daytime and nighttime. So that's where we, met together again and created a RFP versus how we did the original installation. I can tell you that all of the technology that it was utilized or is currently being utilized will be repurposed to other locations. The cameras are able to be reused, so we will be removing them from the poles and, again, reusing them throughout the village. So there's minimal loss of cost for this initial installation.
Okay,
good.
thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Yeah, thanks, Pat, for all your hard work securing the grant, and John, thanks for putting all this together. This is great. And I think another thing to mention is we got a Tinley Park company doing the job too, so I think that's
Better yet.
the icing on the cake, so.
Yes, I did miss that, thank you. They are in town, and that's one of the recommendations personally I made at the committee is, having a vendor in town helps our maintenance and, getting them, expeditiously responding to, any concerns or issues we have. And, and I think, again, Mr. O'Connell can speak on behalf of the fact that, being in town, this is something obviously they're gonna want to utilize as a trophy of their installations.
That's what we like to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Having you guys in our own backyard working together and making sure this goes off without any glitches and giving you a very effective system that's exceeding your needs is what we want to bring to the table. So you guys can be happy that you're utilizing us, and we're very excited and happy that you selected us and we're maintaining that partnership together.
Thank you. Sorry for waiting for the whole meeting.
Save the best for last.
And congratulate John. He sounds like part of his education, he's going through planning school as well.
I can just expand on for Mr. Or Commander Tenza was unable to make it to the meeting here, but he did want me to make mention that, this is just the first step of a 5-year plan that they will be presenting. And as I mentioned at the previous meeting, that there's a 5-year plan that they're gonna try to encompass or geofence the village to assist with their, not only detective work, but early alerting of, any concerns entering into the town. So we will, anticipate seeing budget requests in upcoming years for additional. But again, with Pat's great work on this grant, it helps us, add much more, to this database we have currently.
That's great. Cut it in half. Thanks again, Pat.
I think this is gonna be, it's a little bit easier software to use for our police and public works too, correct, John?
Yes, and that's actually, another thing that, there's a lot of bonuses to this system. One of the things that Stan has, background in with his task force experience is adding the commercial database, which is called Learn Technologies. That was not offered by the previous installation, so that was, in his mind, a very large bonus to this, purchase here is, as we understand, there's only so much that we're gonna see through the police side of it, but when you add the commercial database, which would offer, any license plate reading done by, any repo pickup trucks or, even private, security guards or whatever, using some type of license plate technology. I know Stan mentioned at one point, some of the casinos in the area are using this technology as people enter their parking lots, so all that data goes into this for us to be able to utilize.
Very good. Cool. Thank you, John.
And then just lastly, I want to thank Chief Reader for hosting the annual open house. It was a huge success. And we got to see a lot of our graduates from your academy. I should have did it during the cow because Kristen left, but we still have Lisa Valley here. Congratulations.
Very good.
Can we get this forwarded to the
You
board?
weren't, I'm sorry, you were there with the red hard hat. Sorry, Bill.
Yes, thank you.
Do you guys want to move that item
Yeah,
up?
I'll make a motion to move it to the board for the license plate recognition cameras at intersections. Should I have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Motion carries.
Receive comments from the public. Let the record reflect there are none. I'd like to adjourn the Public Safety Committee meeting at 8:45. I have a motion?
Motion? So
Second?
moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.